Your eye color isn't decoration, it's a biological record of where your ancestors survived, suffered, and thrived. More than 10,000 years of human migration are written into your iris. Here's what each color is actually telling you. Brown eyes are humanity's default setting, and for good reason. Nearly 3 out of 4 people on Earth carry them. The pigment responsible is melanin, the same compound that darkens skin and hair, and in the iris it acts as a biological filter. Studies show it can absorb up to 90% of incoming light before it reaches the deeper structures of the eye. For early humans living under the relentless sun of equatorial Africa, this was not a cosmetic feature, it was damage control. Ultraviolet radiation destroys cells. Melanin intercepts it. Brown-eyed populations closer to the equator have carried this built-in shield for hundreds of thousands of years. In bright daylight, brown eyes also produce sharper, more stable vision. Because light is absorbed rather than reflected, there is almost no internal glare. What you see is what is actually there. Look closely at brown eyes in low golden light, and you may catch unexpected warmth, flickers of amber or copper buried in the outer layers. That is not imagination. That is physics exposing the layered architecture beneath the surface. Every blue-eyed person alive today shares a single common ancestor. One individual somewhere near the Black Sea region between 6 and 10,000 years ago developed a mutation in a gene called HERK2. That mutation switched off full melanin production in the iris. Before that moment, every human on Earth had brown eyes. Blue eyes contain no blue pigment whatsoever. What you are seeing is physics, not chemistry. With almost no melanin present, light enters the iris and shorter blue wavelengths scatter back outward while longer ones pass straight through. It is identical to the mechanism that makes the sky appear blue. The mystery is not where blue eyes came from, it is how fast they spread. Within a few thousand years, they went from a single individual to the dominant eye color across large parts of Northern Europe. Two competing theories exist. One suggests that reduced melanin allowed more light to reach the retina, offering a vision advantage during the low-light winters of the far north. The other proposes that blue eyes were simply so unusual and striking that they became a powerful factor in mate selection, spreading rapidly through preference rather than necessity. Ancient DNA analysis has added another twist. Some of the earliest Europeans with blue eyes also carried dark, deeply pigmented skin, the kind associated with African populations. Light eyes, it turns out, evolved before light skin. They were not a package deal. Gray eyes are among the rarest on Earth, carried by fewer than 3 in every 100 people. They contain even less melanin than blue eyes. Rather than scattering light primarily in the blue range, the almost total absence of pigment creates a broad diffuse scatter across multiple wavelengths simultaneously, producing that cool, flat, steel-like tone. Researchers believe gray eyes likely emerged as an extreme adaptation to the overcast, light-scarce environments of Northern Europe. Where sunlight was already filtered through cloud cover for months at a time, maximum light sensitivity offered a real advantage. Their neutrality is also their most striking social quality. Unlike blue eyes that can appear warm or bright depending on conditions, gray eyes maintain an almost unreadable steadiness. Less color variation means fewer visual cues for others to interpret emotionally, which may be why cultures across history have associated them with calm, composure, or an unnerving inscrutability. The trade-off is vulnerability. With almost no melanin shield, gray eyes are highly susceptible to UV damage over time. Only 2% of the global population has green eyes. That rarity is not accidental. It is the result of extraordinary genetic precision. At least 16 different genes must interact in exactly the right balance. Tip slightly toward more melanin and the eyes turn brown. Drop slightly below the threshold and they read as blue. Green exists only in that narrow corridor between. The second ingredient is lipochrome, a yellow pigment. When moderate melanin and lipochrome combine and light passes through, the result is green. Change the light source and green eyes shift. In shadow, they go mossy and dark. In full sun, they can turn golden. Against certain clothing colors, they will pull toward teal or blue-gray. This is not perception playing tricks. The optics are genuinely changing. That instability made green eyes the subject of myth for centuries. Medieval Europeans associated them with witchcraft. Greek mythology assigned them supernatural sight. The association with intuition and mysticism persists in folklore to this day. Evolutionarily, green eyes may have been well suited to the mixed environments of temperate climates, forests, valleys, mountain regions, where light varies constantly and a flexible visual system has real value. They are most concentrated today in populations of Celtic and Germanic descent, particularly in Ireland and Scotland. Hazel eyes do not simply appear to change, they actually do. This is not an optical illusion or a trick of perception. Intermediate levels of melanin combined with varying amounts of lipochrome interact differently with different light sources. The result is an iris that can read as green in one environment and brown 20 minutes later in a different room. This flexibility may reflect an evolutionary advantage tied to adaptability. Hazel eyes sit in the middle of the melanin range, protected enough for moderate sun exposure, sensitive enough for lower light. They are neither optimized for the tropics nor the far north. They work across a range. Around 5% of people globally carry hazel eyes, with higher concentrations in European and Middle Eastern populations. Genetically, they represent a blend, a convergence of multiple color pathways rather than a single dominant trait. Even two people who both describe themselves as hazel-eyed may have entirely different iris patterns, one predominantly green with brown rings, another predominantly brown with green flecks. That unpredictability has given hazel eyes a long cultural association with complexity and emotional depth. Amber eyes are frequently misidentified. In a casual glance, they can resemble light brown or hazel, but they are neither. Found in fewer than 5% of people, amber eyes are defined by high concentrations of lipochrome with very little melanin. The result is a solid, uniform golden color, copper, honey, or deep gold, that does not shift with changing light. Unlike hazel, which moves, amber stays fixed. That consistency gives amber eyes an unusual quality among human eye colors. The same solid golden tone appears in predatory animals: wolves, eagles, owls, certain big cats. Researchers have found that humans subconsciously respond to this coloration as a signal of alertness and intensity, perhaps because of that deep evolutionary association. There is some evidence that amber eyes spread more through sexual selection than environmental adaptation. Their striking uniformity made them stand out, and standing out was enough. Truly, black eyes do not exist in a biological sense. What registers as black is simply an extreme concentration of dark melanin, so dense that almost no light is reflected back from the iris surface at all. This represents the far end of the same protective spectrum that brown eyes occupy. In populations living near the equator, where UV exposure is constant and intense across every season, maximum melanin saturation offers maximum protection. Research confirms that darker eyes filter harmful radiation more completely and maintain more stable vision across all lighting conditions compared to lighter eyes. The density of pigment also has an unexpected social effect. Pupil dilation, one of the most readable involuntary emotional signals in humans, becomes nearly invisible against a very dark iris. This makes the emotional state of dark-eyed individuals harder to read at a glance, which cultures across history have interpreted as depth, mystery, or self-possession. Heterochromia means having two eyes of different colors or visible variation in color within a single iris. It affects less than 1% of people worldwide. During normal development, melanin distributes evenly across both irises. Heterochromia occurs when that process is disrupted through minor genetic mutations, a phenomenon called mosaicism, where cells carry slightly different genetic instructions or localized shifts during early fetal development. It has no functional disadvantage. What it does carry is centuries of cultural weight. Across many traditions, two-colored eyes were read as signs of duality, otherworldliness, or a connection between different realms. The visual asymmetry breaks something the human brain is wired to expect in a face, and that subtle wrongness has historically been interpreted as supernatural. Your eye color is not random. It is a biological timestamp, a record of which environments your ancestors survived in, how far they migrated, and what pressures shaped their bodies over thousands of generations. Brown eyes crossed ancient savannas. Blue eyes emerged in one person and then swept across a continent. Green eyes required a genetic coincidence so precise it only occurred in 2% of all humans ever born. Every color carries a story that predates language, agriculture, and civilization itself. The next time you look in the mirror, you are not just seeing a color, you are reading the end of a very long story, one that started tens of thousands of years ago and arrived exactly here in you.